Hello there, welcome to We Need to Talk. This is a podcast that's about wellness and about in depth conversations with various people who have various things that they have done in lives, in different spheres of life. So we bring them on the podcast and we share stories that are worth your time. This is Gather Now Network and this is We Need to Talk. My name is Amoni Mokisa and I'm here with a very brilliant, beautiful lady who's going to share with us about living with purpose. Many of us out there, we struggle in our areas of life, work, school, families, say what, everywhere. So you struggle to find purpose, and Gail here is going to be able to share with us about finding purpose. Hey Gail, welcome.
Thank you, Amen. I'm glad to be here finally.
Finally. I know let's say it's been like a roller coaster, rush down, come up, to have this conversation. But I trust our guests are gonna have a very, very wonderful time listening to you. Welcome once again.
Thank you, I'm excited.
Have you been? How are you?
I've been well, thanks. Yeah, I've been well, doing life, keeping it real. That's why people need to tune in today, because we're going to keep it real.
We're going to keep it real.
Yeah.
Why should someone tune in today, exactly?
I think, as I said, we're going to keep it real. We're just going to not complicate things and just talk from, real life experiences, not according to any manual, but just keeping it real.
Absolutely. I think that's the thing. Being real in life helps you discover some things about you. When you live a life that's not yours, it becomes hard to realize yourself. Yeah, so we have to keep it real today on We Need to Talk podcast. Gail, it's a lot. Where can I even start from? What's the earliest piece of you that I really could hear from you and make me understand who Gail is?
Well, I think I have a very interesting story, because my life started off actually in a village in Zimbabwe. That's where I'm from.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think I was the typical African child, but grown up born to two single people, and my mom still being young. She got me when she was very young, sent me off to live with her parents in the village, and kind of got on with her life, and I was just getting along, trying to survive, I guess. And then my father, who at that time I think really got more serious about life and became a Christian, heard about me, heard about my plight, and he came through and asked my mom's parents if he could take me into the city, into a place called Bulawayo, where I grew up. And he had then been married, met a lovely woman, and so I moved over to be with them, and that's how my life began. So at that point, I was actually a very malnourished, sickly child, and moving into the big city. And I was actually even on a feeding scheme at school because I had kwashioki and all sorts of ringworms on my head, sores. It was just, I think, my life could have taken a turn for the worse had my father not come to fetch me. So fast forward to, finishing off primary school. It was a very confusing time, out of my comfort zone, learning to speak English.
Speak some pretty good English.
Well,
yeah.
thanks to education and schooling there. So I actually started at the bottom. It was a very challenging life, to say the least. I mean, I grew up with my stepmom, and, the dynamics of being a stepchild, and the insecurity, the lack of self-confidence, and constantly the negative voices, telling me that I'm dumb, I'm not as bright as the others, I'm a sickly child, and, drained to the resources. I think for a long time I truly believed that I didn't measure up, and I was just in survival mode. And at some point I went on to high school and didn't do very well. And at 17, I left home and decided that I would do all it takes just to leave and to start my own life. And I remember at some point I thought, I'm going to go to the big city, perhaps be a housemaid, perhaps be do anything, work in the garden, because again, my qualifications weren't that great. I at that point had done a basic secretarial course, and so armed with that, I moved to Harare. So that's basically how my life began.
That's basically summing up all the life beginning in less than 2 minutes. Let's go back a little bit in Zimbabwe. How is Zimbabwe? And when last were you there?
I was in Zimbabwe about 3 months ago. Yeah, Zimbabwe is a beautiful country. So, the stuff you see in the news about, basket case and, hopeless situation are quite confusing. When you land in Harare, you see a very organized place. It looks, the infrastructure is great, the traffic is orderly, the roads seem to function. But deep down the layers, that's when you get to know people, when you get to know their struggle, when you get to see people you've been to university who cannot get jobs, and just the economic challenges, then you know that it is a struggle. But on the surface, it's, if you just go there as a visitor and you pass through, after 3 days, you're like, what did I miss here? The restaurants look great, they look full, and the flashy cars are there, but it's hard to function. And then the flip side, we always talk about it with my family. It's like, you land in Kampala.
That's where I want to live. I want the gist over there.
Sound, traffic, and oh my word, it's not for the faint-hearted. When you come from Southern Africa, Zimbabwe specifically, everything is so calm. People behave on the road. If you misbehave, people chase you and take your number plates down and report you to some group about bad driver, and even take your number plates and name and shame.
Wow.
And really petty, but it's so orderly. So when you come here and you see what's happening on the roads, and you see how you just have to navigate things and you have to be streetwise, it seems like things don't work. And yet on the flip side, Uganda works. There is a system in the madness. And on the other side in Zimbabwe, it's so calm, but things don't function. So I feel privileged to live on two flip sides. It keeps me streetwise, being able to wear these two hats. Yeah.
I mean, currently we're having a comparison between Uganda and plus other different countries, especially Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, TZ, Tanzania. People are comparing how the system in Uganda and Tanzania and Kenya and Rwanda, how it's working. If we would compare between Uganda and Rwanda, where would you stay at the moment? Like fully, and you're like, you know what? If these two I was to pick, I'd pick this one.
I'd still pick Uganda, without a doubt. Because I think Uganda is like, this is school, university, and PhD in one. You just have to really apply yourself. And the opportunities are there. And again, Uganda has layers. And once you figure them out, it's like an orange peel. You keep on. And, the more you discover, the more you enjoy the sweetness of this orange. I found Rwanda to be a bit sterile. Very sterile. You never quite know where you fit in, and it's calm also. Is this calm, really calm, or is it, really? I just couldn't quite fit in. Yes, the infrastructure is fantastic, and the roads are clean, and the traffic is orderly.
That's Rwanda.
Yes, that's Rwanda. So for me, I feel like I have learned so much. I've been stretched in Uganda. I tell you, stretched beyond measure, to the point of tears at times when I'm trying to figure out what is going on. But it's really taught me some serious life skills that I could never imagine. Because, at my age, you kind of think, well, I've been there, done that, I've learned it all. But Uganda is definitely school fees and a good learning ground. Yeah.
You see, you talked about leaving home at the age of 17 and I was just here thinking about a couple of girls who really leave home at the age of 17 and they're doing literally nothing. Like you said, Uganda is like an institution of PhD, high school and college, girls who live at the age of 17 from different homes and families, finding something to do is a bit hard. How did you manage to maneuver around that whole space? Because 17 is, for a boy or man, it's understandable. But for a woman, isn't it too early to leave home?
It is. I think it's circumstances. In my case, it was a hunger. I think I knew I wasn't wanted where I was. I didn't belong. But I just had this hunger to just do something with my life. I just needed to get out, to improve my lot in life, to just find my place where I can just settle and be in a place where I'm not inconveniencing anyone, where I don't feel like I am dumb or I am, just a burden on people. So that hunger just is what drove me, because I did life the other way around. I left home at 17 and then started going to school. Because like I said, when I left home at 17, I'd done only senior, I think it's called senior 4.
Down here in Uganda, it's senior 4.
High school.
It must be senior 4, I think. Yeah.
Senior 4,
yeah.
So I finished high school at 15. And then I went to do a technical course at a technical college. And when I finished at 17, I was ready to leave. So I still knew I need to go back to school. Because, as you know, Zimbabwe is very about education. If you don't have a diploma, if you don't have a degree, you are not considered worthy. So I knew that, okay, just go in there, get something, anything. And like I said, I was willing to even work as a maid. I thought, I need to get out. Even if I earn my few pennies, I'll save them, I'll go back to school and take it from there. So maybe it's the hunger. Now, I'm not saying other 17-year-olds don't have that hunger, but perhaps during my time, there were more options available. Certainly, I was willing to start at the bottom, which not many people are willing to do. I feel like in those days, there wasn't social media that would create all these impressions that, okay, maybe I should be an influencer. I could have been doing a lot of that.
Do you feel that's a new term? Influencer?
Influencer on TikTok. And I've seen girls who will like really start up a career and just sustain themselves, looking nice and with these bags and dresses and shoes and stuff. I didn't have that opportunity in my day.
How did you land your foot back in the day, doing all that whole experience?
Yeah.
How did you get to realize that, this is the next step I'm taking, and you landed well?
I actually, like I say, I did not know. I have to get out. This is how the conversation went with my father. I said to my father, Dad, I'd like to leave and look for a job. And he said, okay, go ahead and look for a job. I said, no, I want to leave and look for a job in Harare because that's the capital city. Just like someone in, let's say, Mbarara saying, I want to go to Kampala. So I want to go to Harare so I can find a job. And my father says, do you know anyone there? And I said, no. And he said, do you know that that place is not for stupid people?
That's the word you used?
Yeah. He said stupid people, and I was like, I know that. And he's like, so why do you think you're going there? And I said, I feel like the opportunities are there. He says, anyway, I have a friend I met a few years back. I'll call him and ask if he can accommodate you. And so he called his friend, and I went to caught the bus, went to the big city, and that's how I started. Yeah. So I didn't have a plan. It was just like, I have to go. And I think, thank God he had a plan for me, because I got to Harare, and then I started putting out my CV, knocking on doors, asking around until I got my first landing. Yeah.
Well, speaking about purpose, from what you're sharing, I realize you're just looking for what really to do. You're trying to find your purpose in life, and it makes even the conversation much more interesting that you're the right person actually to share more about this. And now here you landed in Kampala, where the where the city is noisy, everything is moving different directions. Where do you start from when you're down here in Kampala?
So, Kampala, okay, so I must say, when we talk about purpose, I must confess that I didn't know what purpose meant. I didn't even know there was such a thing when I think I only tapped into it at 30. That, wait a minute, I have had this idea in my mind that this is what I want to do because I am Christian, and one of the things that I always learned about is like commit your plans to God and He'll make them succeed. So I was like, now I'm a bit worried about committing my plans to God because I have a feeling He's going to say I must be a missionary or pastor's wife and go to Timbuktu and preach to missionaries. So I was like, so I ain't telling God all my plans because I know I got it, So it was only later when I started feeling this emptiness that, okay, I just wanted to work, make money, and make sure that I cushion myself from poverty. That was my mission, but that wasn't my purpose. So it was about survival rather than committing the plans to God and say, okay, you created me, So it only hit me when I hit 30, like, okay, why do I feel so empty? Because my dream was to have this high-flying marketing job, flying from airport to airport. By that time, I had done my degree. I went to night school. I would work during the day and go to college at night. Got my degree. I finished high school, got my degree, and now it's like, this is it. Went to Chicago, got this high-flying job. This is the time the internet hit, and I'm teaching people what the internet is about and so on. And just feeling so empty. So I'm like, there has to be something bigger than this. So it was at 30 that I started learning about purpose, learning about doing something that resonates with you, that God has purposed for you to be doing. It was only at that point that it finally clicked. Yeah.
I believe there are many people out there who can differentiate between purpose and mission. What's purpose?
Purpose to me is reminds me of Jeremiah 29 verse 11 that says, I know the plans I have for you. So purpose is aligning yourself with those plans that God has for you, because He created you when you were in your mother's womb. He knows, He put the parts together. So it's like, that is the engineer. So unless you go back to the engineer who put the parts together and say, okay, now help me understand what is my function, you're just operating blindly. So purpose is when you finally go to the maker and you say, okay, what's your plan? What's the plan? And when you align yourself with that, it's like beautiful things happen.
Why should someone really have purpose in life? Because I will have a friend who is doing maybe a certain job, and actually I have a friend, he works from he does a 9 to 5, but you're going to find him in every part around town. You're going to find him enjoying life, but later on when you're having like a one-on-one, he's telling you, man, I'm really broke. But over the weekend, you're seeing him literally everywhere. Yeah. Does this person have purpose, really?
I don't think so. And just sadly, some people will live life, get a job, do the job, get married, have kids, retire, and die without connecting to their purpose or reaching their promised land. For me, like when you connect to purpose, it's like now the steps you need to get to your promised land. So, and some people are just like that. They just pass through life. And then there's some who will ask, why am I here? This is meaningless. There's like a gaping hole within you that you feel that, no, there's something that I'm supposed to be doing, and what is that? So connecting with one's purpose is such a challenging, exciting, and a beautiful thing at the same time. Some people are fortunate enough to just automatically connect with their purpose, and some people, like myself, it's a slow process. It's a time of seeking the Lord's face, a time of tears and gnashing of teeth and saying, I feel so empty. what is the meaning of life, my life? What am I supposed to be doing? And then I have some friends who, from maybe 20, they're just so creative, they're so talented. And one of the things I learned when you're discovering your purpose, when you're on a purpose quest, is to, if you're not sure, one of the indicators is when people tell you that, wow, you know what, Amon, you speak so well. You know, you really, really are a good MC, a good, when you are like facilitating, or when you are in control in this situation on the media, those are the indicators you could say, kind of think, okay, maybe I should pursue this. So it's like almost like people are helping you achieve your journey and stuff when you're looking to see your purpose. And then some of us, you really have to think, oh my word, like for me, I was like a blank slate, like, what am I supposed to be doing? It was so frustrating for me because I thought at that point I was so hungry to connect. So I started reading books about purpose, what it means to be purpose driven, and like, I have no talent, I have no skills at anything. People are not complimenting me to say, oh, you bake very well, or your cooking is amazing, like, or you knit well, or you whatever it is, So I just had nothing. So there's two camps, I think. Those who get there quicker, and it's almost like they just, the environment, whether they go to school and they connect with the options available, just lead them to that. And then some of us are searching, and then we finally get there. Yeah.
You're talking about having compliments and someone being able to have a certain way of realizing that, okay, this might be my purpose. How do you tell that this is not my purpose? Or maybe I should go this direction. This is where my purpose lies. How do you differentiate between that two? You're in a line, for example, maybe you're in media space, and whatever you're doing is being bashed, is being declined by the audience. And maybe you are in a certain business, and you feel like whatever you're doing doesn't really come out. You always year in, year out losses. Do you think those are some of the indicators of you're in a wrong journey, or you're chasing a wrong purpose in life?
I think purpose is when you enjoy what it is you're doing. Because if you can connect with your purpose, it doesn't matter whether you're paid or not. It doesn't matter how, the people on the other end perceive. But it's something that you could do, that even if I say to you today, here's a job. This job is a technical job, and it's not in line with your purpose. And this is the motions you have to go through. I'll pay you X amount. And then, or here's a job that you really enjoy doing, that you would even be willing to accept without pay. So that's the one, where you feel so you light up, where you feel excited to get up in the morning and say, I'm going to do this thing, not like, oh no, I'm going to do that job again.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like purpose is when you really, really are excited to do life, excited to do this thing, excited to see what comes out of it, even if you're starting off at the bottom and there's nothing coming out of it. And that's the reward. And then I always say the money follows. When you align with your purpose, you put in the hours and the money follows. But when you're not aligned with your purpose, you work as hard as you can, get all the money you want, and you are a miserable person.
I had a chance to attend one of your presentations and teachings at Watoto in one of their leadership classes. And you were sharing about how one can connect their career to their purpose. Like, how can one use their hands to really achieve what they want and maybe get to what they really want to do? Their heart, how do they follow their heart? Their feet, their mind. Like, how can one collaborate these elements to realize that, this is actually the right purpose that I'm serving. I should take this direction. Because in most cases, I believe we have very many people out there who have great minds. They are really talented. They can create something out of nothing in a space of just a little space, So how do you help these, or how do you advise like these guys or these people to connect these elements so that they can realize that this is the purpose they have to achieve?
I think obviously you want to first ask God, like, what is my purpose? And in so doing, you have to be willing to make sacrifices as you discover your purpose. So the first thing is, I would say, is what's in your hands?
Yeah.
What's in your hands? Do you have, is it a small amount of money that you're going to put in towards buying that first part that you're going to build to achieve your dream? Start small. Is it time to go and volunteer at a place where you really feel you want to explore and see? Because obviously just don't go cold turkey and say, now today is purpose day, so I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do this thing. You continue to explore, but you sort of like, what's in your hands? And from there you start small. And again, there's something that, the word that says, do not despise humble beginnings. So many people are not willing to put in the time. Again, what's in your hands? If you have the time, go and volunteer somewhere. For me, I remember when I started working, I'm passionate about working with women, working in crafts, working with people. And before I got to that point, I put in time. I did a master's in international development. I found out about microfinance. I learned about this business model of how women in Bangladesh were using the small amount of money they were getting to engage in crafts, in small, like they would start small and then they continue growing and saving. So when I started doing my research, I thought I want to do my research and see which organization is doing close to what I learned about, which really inspired me. Because again, when you find your purpose, there must be something that you're burdened about. So you could be burdened, for instance, you could be burdened by the street kids on the road and say, why am I so burdened by these kids? I don't even sleep. I keep seeing this kid's face at night. Maybe I need to be doing a soup kitchen, or maybe I need to be doing something, or maybe you love shoes. Like, okay, I really, really love shoes. And I think the shoes we're wearing are plastic and they're damaging our feet. And so let me go and, after work, go and learn about shoemaking from this shoe company that inspires me. So it's either what's in your hands, what's burdening you, and then you take it from there.
Wow, that's really something. What's in your hand? Because in most cases, what's in our hands is what we take action on. Because if you're not really motivated to do something, doing business in Uganda is something hard, by the way. And taking decisions, being able to like say, okay, I've taken this direction and I know I'm going to put in all what it takes to make sure that I achieve what I want.
Yeah.
What motivates you every day, like to wake up and do what you're doing?
I think for me, it's I love people. I'm always excited to say, okay, this morning I'm going to go and, do what puts smiles on people's faces. As you know, I'm in the coffee industry. And again,
we are gonna talk about that. The producer should just put that applause. Boom, 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 boom. We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah. So I think just being able to connect with people, to hear their stories, and that's what really motivates me in the morning. I'm always thinking like, why don't we do this thing? And if we did this thing, bringing people together. I love being African, and I love this African renaissance that's taking place. We are, like the borders are becoming blurred. So for me, I feel like, hey, if I'm in Uganda, I'm Ugandan. If I am in Tanzania, I am Tanzania. I'm claiming I am African. So being able to sit with fellow Africans and hear their stories and just observe and learn and, different cultures. And it's like every single day, I get a chance to meet fascinating people from all walks of life and just hearing their stories. Yeah, that's what really gives me that excitement to get up and face each new day.
It's something that really everyone should have, like, because you can't just be out there and you're just waking up really every day to just eat, drink, walk around, talk to someone, you should have a reason why you are really living, why you wake up every day and you're going to do something. That's something that everyone should have. And I personally, I think I realized that 2 years ago, I was just really waking up every day, go to work. After work, go and do different things that are not even, valued for. And not until I was like, what? I think you need to find a direction that you are doing something that you value and is adding value onto others. And if you realize we had taken like almost 1 year without putting out content on Gather Now Network, not until I found out that, what, I'm more into community. The content, everything I think is more into community. So I sat with my team. I'm like, what, we're going to alleviate, going to, channel all things that we're doing, plan, and deliver content that helps the community, get deep into the community. So we came up with We Need to Talk podcast. And that's why we're here. We need to tell stories that help people in the community. Someone out there needing to know, why should I do a certain thing? And why am I doing a certain thing? So We Need to Talk podcast is just here to have those stories, to have a conversation about community, wellness, your mental health, financial literacy. So that's why even Gail is here sharing about her story. So having value for something is really, really key. How do you find your value for what you're doing? You're in the coffee industry, you're into community, ladies or women. How do you find value? How do you measure value for that?
I think it's being able to, at the end of the day, and being able to look back and say, was I responsible with the time that I've been given? Because I feel like, in life we're given X amount of time, and each day I'm withdrawing from this bank account. So when I'm analyzing myself, I say, did I spend my time well today? Of course, some days I am not responsible. I will spend a little longer than I should on Instagram, But then there are some days when I look back and I say, you know what? I spent, like this morning, I had a meeting, and then the one of the ladies who sews for us from the police camp came and sat with me, and we ended up talking for about half an hour. And when I look back, I'm like, one could say, oh, you know what? I could have made money during that time. But just sitting and listening that she's a mother, I'm a mother, and we were comparing notes and we were sharing life's journey. For me, that's value. I learned from her, she learned from me. We were exchanging, recipes, exchanging notes and things. It was fascinating. So value for me is, was I a good steward of the time that I had today? Was I punctual? Did I really do what I needed to do in the 24 hours I had, including going to bed on time? Because sometimes it's easy, to get home and suddenly you lie there and you're like, flick, and you're looking at things. And nowadays,
it's really, really hard keeping that discipline.
Yes. So nowadays, even sleep is a commodity. It's like a real thing. You don't get enough sleep, you're not going to be able to get value from your day. So, yeah.
You talked about money and like how you withdraw money. Like, okay, you're living, but every day you have to, keep cash moving, because it's an essence in life. How has money really affected how people should follow their value? How should people follow their purpose in life? Like, in most cases, we tend to have different directions. Someone is going to come up with a big chunk of money and is saying, I'm giving you this opportunity, are you gonna take it? And you think twice. You're like, okay, should I go with this opportunity, or should I just leave this opportunity? But it has money. So does money really affect the way how people choose their purposes in life, like in real life? Besides, because I'm gonna come out here and say, no, I can't go with this money. But when you're looking at it, you take the money, and then at the end of the day you realize, no, this wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
And then you pull back, and already that's time wasted. So what's the impact of money in really choosing your purpose in life?
I think money plays an important role. That's a reality, because you need to sustain yourself, you need to put food on the table. And I think depending on where one is in life, you do want to ensure that you've covered your back, you've covered the bases. So, and again, I think things are seasonal. If one can say to oneself, okay, this is the money I have, it's a season, and let me be smart, let me be strategic, so that in this season of where I'm getting this money that's X amount and, surplus, I need to be like focusing on putting in the time to say, what am I passionate about and how am I now investing in that thing? Because it's easy to get comfortable with money. You know what I'm saying? You can settle, you can get so comfortable with a nice fat salary, and then comes with then you a nice car, and then I'm renting or I'm staying in this nice house, and like, you know what? I think I'll stay here longer. And then before you know it, years have gone by. But if you can keep one eye on the goal and say, you know what, I want to invest. I'm not enjoying this money season, but I know I need to put food on the table, I need to invest. So for X amount of time, I will be disciplined and I will make the necessary sacrifices once I've covered the bases. So money is a means to an end, I believe.
So would you say that really money is a very, very key aspect in choosing the direction you're taking in life, really?
Partly, it is.
Because why I'm saying this actually is we have very many people who have graduated from universities and they're totally in different, areas or spheres of life from what they did. And that was time they took. So it's because maybe after graduating and they're realizing that, what I studied isn't something that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's not something that can sustain my life.
Yeah.
So how can someone really choose and say, I'm going to take this direction and my purpose is going to be in this direction, rather than realizing later on that, okay, I've been in a wrong space and now I should start doing this, and yet you've wasted a lot of time. Yeah.
I think it's the reality is that many people, many of us, myself included, will probably end up not doing the career that you went to school for. And the reason being is, I feel like life kind of forces you into making decisions that sometimes you just have no choice.
Would you say really it's not you who chooses the purpose chooses you?
Yes and no. I think, like I said earlier, some people are just so lucky that purpose chooses them and it's automatic. But sometimes you can imagine someone is now 18. You're told, okay, go and apply and study something. And sometimes at 18, you don't even know what you want to do in life. Sometimes at 18, you don't know whether, 10 years from now, whether you'll still be feeling the same, whether you'll still be impressed by the same things. And you go in and you do this thing. So again, it's a very difficult situation in that you may find many people will be telling you, I studied, I was an accountant, now I'm in the tourism industry. Or I was in the hospitality industry, now I'm a banker. Because I think that, again, if once you start, you're doing the cover the bases season, you're putting food on the table, one should allow oneself to say, okay, I'm stuck as an accountant, or this is not where I want to be an architect, or I want to be doing interior design, and allow oneself to then, it's not that easy, because once the children come and the responsibilities come, you could be stuck for a very long time. A very, very long time. And then it means you're taking more sacrifices. Yeah, so it's not easy. I mean, honestly, especially some universities where if you're going to study chemistry, you will study chemistry, and there's no way out. So it's great if you have a chance to say, okay, explore for the first 2 years and then see what happens. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in life, if you decide to do something, I would say really go for it. If you feel like your guts are telling you to go for it, go for it.
Yeah.
How did you get into the coffee industry? You talked about coffee earlier.
Yes, so my husband moved here in 2016, and I remember I was really annoyed because I was not ready to move again. Because since we have been married, we've moved countries. I've lived in various countries. I've lived in Kenya, I've lived in Rwanda, I've lived in South Africa, I've lived in Eswatini, and so now we had just moved back to Zimbabwe, and now I'm starting to unpack all these wonderful things I've learned and putting them into practice and setting up a business. And then my husband says, no, we have to move to Uganda. Anyway, long story short, I said, okay, I'm only coming because I want to find out about the coffee industry because I want to open up a coffee shop in Zimbabwe. So when I came here, I started looking around and said, okay, which coffee shop is here that I could say, do you want to come and open up a shop in Zimbabwe? Because I thought, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. What do I know about coffee? So guess who I met first? Gloria.
Okay.
Yeah, from Indiro. And so a friend of mine in Zimbabwe is Ugandan. And so she said to me, hey, you need to go and visit Indiro. And I know the lady there, the owner, and she can give you advice. And she was gracious. She spoke to me, gave me advice. So I said, okay, can you come and open Indiro in Zimbabwe? And she said, it's not that simple. So anyway, she encouraged me to learn about coffee. So I said, okay, now what do I learn? Okay, let me be a barista so that at least I know how to make the coffee in case I don't have someone to work with me. And so I registered to become a barista. First thing I did was, I went through the motions, finished my course, did my first stint at Indiro. We opened up Muyenga at the restaurant there, Yamasen. Yeah. And from there, I think after I worked some time there, opened up, got the stuff going and everything, it was like, okay, what next? And then I heard about this basic quality control course at UCDA. I joined, and it was a fantastic time of learning. There I learned everything from cupping to, and we're starting at the bottom. Again, this is where you're like, if you want to find your purpose, you have to have a lot of humility. So did that. I was with people half my age, some who were just there because they were sent or not quite sure why they want to be there. But I knew that at this point, I knew this is where I want to be. So I put in the hours, and even after the course ended, I asked if I could just continue volunteering, setting up the cupping tables, drinking a lot of Robusta, some good and not so good, amazing Arabicas, also some good, not so good. And then I thought, what next? And then I heard about this Q grader course in Nairobi. At that point, I had no idea what it's about, so I registered, went and did that. And when I got there, I got the shock of my life to find out that it is such a difficult, challenging course. That surprisingly, because I had so much experience from UCDA, I then managed to get my Q grader license. And that's how I got into the coffee industry.
How is it going now?
It's been an incredible journey. It really has. I mean, the vision has grown from opening up one coffee shop, a little coffee shop in Zimbabwe, so that...
Oh, we have a coffee shop in Zimbabwe?
Not yet. It's still waiting. I thought it will come soon, because I thought I'm only here. When my husband said we're moving there, I said, I'm only here for a while, 1 year, then find someone to come open up a coffee shop in Zimbabwe, and then I'm good. But here's the thing that surprised me when I came to Uganda and started learning about coffee. I was just so shocked on so many levels. So I personally didn't drink coffee before. I was one of those who had these misconceptions about coffee, that, it's unhealthy for you and, it's bad for my body and so on. But I started feeling the effects of when I got into the coffee industry, I started drinking coffee, and how it really had a positive impact on my health, mentally especially. But what really surprised me was how come I never knew about Uganda and Uganda's incredible coffee heritage? It just baffled me. I said, I know Kenya. We always hear about Ethiopia. We know even about Rwanda, but Uganda is nowhere near the radar. And then when I started learning about Uganda's incredible history and Uganda's place in the coffee global industry, I was gobsmacked. And then like Uganda's the world's eighth biggest coffee producer, and it's Africa's number one, because even though Ethiopia produces so much coffee, they're consuming 50%, and we are not consuming that much. It was just all these things that bugged me. And even in 2020, when Uganda got the third best global taste coffee, and I'm like, this is just puzzling. Why? And so I actually had this, at some point I even got angry. I said, why am I in this incredible coffee country and I can't get a decent cup of coffee? If I'm driving from here to Gulu or Mbarara, I can't even get a cup of coffee. Why is it when I come to Uganda, I'm not seeing anything about you are now in coffee country? Why am I not seeing, like how it is, been there, bought the t-shirt. People are talking about Waraji, people are talking about Rolex, but no one is saying anything about coffee. And why am I going to conferences, including government conferences, and drinking instant coffee, Nescafe? At some point I was so enraged. I was really, really upset. I said, this is not making sense. Why are we letting this wealth flow out of our fingers as Africans? And so my call to action is I'm going to start doing coffee experience classes, where it's a little class that's full of information about incredible coffee history, including the health benefits, including just a basic coffee experience where the person leaving has a different perspective and appreciates what coffee is about. And all those misconceptions about, coffee will give you cancer, because coffee's had a bad rap, and it's been the poster child of caffeine, and yet, tea also has caffeine, and so does dark chocolate, and so does green tea, and so does Coca-Cola, and all these energy drinks, where we let's compare apples with apples, and let's separate facts from fiction and pseudoscience. So for me, it's been more than just okay, I'm in here to make the money, and yes, I do need to sustain myself, but I think with this passion and purpose that I have concerning the coffee industry, I really feel like I've had opportunities now. We've recently opened up a coffee shop, which I believe is the best priced coffee shop in Kampala, with good quality coffee. And the way I set up this coffee shop was such that the person in this, we have, where our coffee shop is, you can actually have you can have a border. The border man can come in and he can get a cup of coffee and sit in a nice environment and be treated with dignity and respect and not feel like he doesn't belong. So whether you're an executive or a border or borderman, or whether you are a lady sewing or beading in the market, or whether you are a high-flying executive of a bank, our space lends itself for that. And you get to taste proudly Ugandan coffee. And I say proudly Ugandan coffee, we're not just focusing on specialty coffee, which so many coffee shops are focusing on, but we're keeping it real. We keep it so real. And I love being in that space, because we've even had farmers who come all the way to our coffee shop and say, I've never had a cup of coffee. Will you brew for me my first cup of coffee? And we celebrate that. So for me, this is what gets me going in the morning, okay, every African drinking African coffee. And that's our agenda. And just sharing the coffee gospel. I get excited about it.
It's really good, because Uganda is really doing well when it comes to the coffee side. We just need to get more consumers of coffee in Uganda. Let's speak about a little bit about health and coffee. You talked about how coffee misconceptions are in the coffee industry. What would you talk about, or what would you say about health and coffee in Uganda?
So the science is really, really out there right now. I think America gave coffee a bad rap because, again, if you consider the Starbucks model, Starbucks isn't really about the coffee. It's about a vibe. So you find you have this dark, bitter coffee and a lot of cream, sugar, and drama that basically makes people sick, compared to a good, decent cup of coffee, which ideally would be black, but even, 1 teaspoon of sugar and a bit of milk and they won't do you harm. But the real science is that, and there's a study that was done in the European Journal of Neurology. It was done, I think, in 2008, where the science shows that with every cup of coffee you drink, it actually is good for your mental wellness. So the study indicates that people who drink coffee are less prone to depression because it increases your dopamine and serotonin levels. And also, as we get old, our brains start to rust. So coffee is so high in antioxidants. And also, with those antioxidants, you find that not only does it help you in terms of the caffeine, and that actually helps, keep your mind, remove the rust, to put it in simple terms, So this is why some people say when they have coffee, it's like a light switches on, like suddenly, really feeling alert, feeling, obviously everything in moderation. So generally it's advised to drink more than 4 cups of coffee a day. But there's so many other health benefits for your gut health. If you struggle with constipation, a lot of people who drink coffee are very regular. You don't struggle with constipation because it increases your metabolism. We as Africans continue to ride on all these perceptions.
Do you think Uganda should really concentrate more on our own coffee rather than doing other maybe like farming practices or growing other crops like maybe cotton, food crops like maybe maize, beans, legumes, and concentrate specifically on growing coffee? Do you think that should be the direction?
I think we obviously shouldn't put all our eggs in one basket. I think it's important to have a balance. What I like about coffee is that you can intercrop. You find that you can have your matoke, your peanuts, your G-nuts, and so on. So obviously you want to have, a good balance in terms of. But certainly, I think coffee is already the number one agro earner for Uganda. And I think where there's obviously idle land, the beauty of coffee is that, for the next 100 years, this is it's an investment. It's not like maize that is so, you have to tend to it. The season comes and goes, and then, so on and so forth. We do need maize, I guess, for other uses. But at the same time, I certainly think that the more people who can grow coffee, and again, it's soil erosion. Why not have a coffee tree? Can still intercrop and get, still have a harvest around the coffee. So I'm certainly, yes, let's have coffee, but let's also not completely say it's one of this and nothing else. No, I think we can't put all our eggs in one basket. We do need to have various crops. But coffee should be number one without a doubt, because again, we can have coffee, matoke, G-nuts, or, different plants in between as we intercrop.
I mean, speaking about like really food or coffee and other related plants, Africa is known to be, the basket of the world. Let's say, what would be like the consideration of various countries in Africa? Because at least you visited various countries in Africa. You've been to South Africa, you've been to Kenya, you've been to Uganda. So, which means you have a vast experience in these various countries. And when we choose like to really concentrate on farming, like Uganda we did, or like how Uganda did, as a country, do you think we are serving the right purpose?
Without a doubt. I think, especially now, more than ever, global warming, I think food security is such a powerful thing. Because when we let go of our ability to generate or grow our own food, we're letting go of our own power. And Uganda, Africa is so fertile, particularly Uganda. I kind of feel like you can put something in the ground and it comes up. So And I also love the model of small scale farmers because, again, you still have a bit of power. You can grow, you can seed harvest, make sure you keep your seeds and make sure you grow and you can basically sustain yourself. So we definitely need to increase that because I think where there's food, there's power, you see. And what better place than Uganda? That's great climate, rich soils, water, abundance of water. I mean, hey, that's power right there,
Yeah, that's power. That's power. How long have you been in Uganda?
6 years.
How's your family?
My family is well. My husband is thriving. He loves working with coffee farmers. Their bank sponsors or funds a lot of coffee farmers to develop their farms and so on. So it's been a good, rich experience for my family, contrary to what I thought when I first came here.
What did you get when you first came here?
When I first came here, I was like, oh my word. This is just crazy. How am I going to survive? Even driving for me was scary. And just how am I going to navigate? So it's been an incredible time of learning, of growing. And I'm sure when I do go back, it will be I'll go with my heart and hands full and head too with knowledge.
Because we have quite a lot of marriages that are happening currently at a young age. You find someone getting married at 15, 16, just because they got pregnant and they're forced into early marriage. What advice would you give such a couple in that situation to really not lose their sight of their purpose?
So I got married young.
17? 18?
I met my husband at 17. Oh. Yeah.
Well, what's the consent age in Zimbabwe? 18?
I think it's 16.
16?
Yeah.
So you weren't young.
No. But then, marriage. I need to confirm. I think you have to be 18 to get married. Yeah. No, so I met my husband at 17. And I got engaged, and soon after everything happened when I was 18. So I guess 18 is slightly older than, say, someone who is 15 or 16. And again, when you say marriage, I'm like, are they like legally husband and wife and they're now like in covenant?
Cohabiting, basically, let's say.
That's a very difficult one.
Yeah.
That's a very difficult one when you're cohabiting because, again, it's like it's a loose arrangement, right? And as you grow, maybe you find that people will continue on their different ways. But I mean, if you've both decided to commit to this, and you love each other, and this has happened, even at that age, I think there's pros and cons of everything. To seek people who can mentor you. I mean, as a young couple, I'm always saying, find a couple that you admire that's done life already, and then maybe walk this journey with them. And, oftentimes at that age, it's kind of like, if he does this to me, then I'm gone. And you kind of feel like, should we be investing or doing things together? But I feel that even at a young age, we had dreams together. We dreamed together. We would make plans together, share our resources. I mean, at some point when I was a student, he was helping me. And when he was a student, I was helping him. So it's like, what's yours is mine and what's mine is yours. Our dreams, our struggles, our everything, We start off at the bottom and then we continue together in all that we do.
Because you see, Gail, we really have early or young children. By children, I'm talking about young boys and girls who are really forced into this whole thing of getting married early or living together at an early age, and this is taking a toll on their mental health, really, because having someone get to stay with a friend, let's say, and just because they messed up, someone got pregnant and now families agree and you're like, okay, take my girl to be your woman or to be your wife. And this lady has dreams all this guy has, all this man has dreams, and you're just confining them in one place like this. That is really, really, really hard. And I would say it would affect them mentally, even physically perhaps, because when you're not able to, think straight, being creative, being assertive in what you're doing, it affects the way you live your life. Okay, so how would you really describe a situation where someone is in this confinement and they want to get out, and maybe if they get out, how do they start in life, really?
I think also just going back to what you said, I think as a society we just also need to really, really move with the times, because I know, growing up, it was almost like it always puzzled me that our parents forbid you from, going out there and mingling with other young people, because they don't say exactly what it is. It's like there's always this fear factor that if I am seen talking to a boy, then I'll be beaten up. But if we keep it real as parents, and we're sharing to say these are the consequences of the actions that you're going to do, and not really like sentencing young people for mistakes that they make. So now forcing young people into a marriage starts off with us, the parents, to say, we were young once, and do not sentence young people for mistakes that they made. I think that's a starting point. And how do we get there? How do we as a society change that mentality that, you made the mistake, you'll pay for it for the rest of your life. And I think for young people, again, it's such a challenging situation where now you've been sentenced to this situation. And maybe that's where, again, I'm assuming that if people are not married, at some point it's just like, okay, work the best that you can and continue pursuing your dreams, or be in the season of saying, what can we do to make sure that I can sustain myself? And I think as people mature and grow, then, obviously this is something that we reflect and we analyze as we go along. But it's a difficult, I think it's as a whole society, we need an overhaul in the way we're seeing things and the way we're doing things, because again, we're actually sending our young people to the grave by these harsh actions and saying, okay, you made a mistake, pay for it. How about even schools allowing girls to have the baby? If the parents will say, okay, our daughter made a mistake, how about just being with your child, allowing the child to have the baby with the support structure of family, and then go to school, graduate, the baby still supported without being forced on a man, or a guy being forced on a girl. I think we just need an overhaul, basically. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. We just need to change our mindsets and the way we deal with these things, because it's obviously not doing our society or our young people any good.
Parenting in Africa and maybe Uganda, it's really hard, very hard, because we are having parents do the same things as their children. Through the communication, how they talk, how they walk, how they behave. Basically, the society that we're in today is having a lot of things that you can't differentiate, that this is my parent and this is a child. That's where we're finding now children being able to do some things, and we're like, oh, she did this anyway, I'm not surprised. You get, we're having parents who, let's say, who are well off, have their children do certain things, and we also have like these parents who they're trying to live like a middle class kind of lifestyle, or even a poor lifestyle, and these children are watching the other well-off children doing some things, and they also want to do such things. How would you advise this person who is really living a poor lifestyle and is watching this person who's living like that a lifestyle, who you admire that lifestyle? How do you advise this person to really take that time, to feel like, or to understand that, you know what, work hard, you'll get there. Okay, if your parents never worked really hard, because that's the term they use, like, okay, your parents never worked hard, that's why you're living a hard life, a poor life. But this person can be someone, can be something. What is your advice to them?
I think it's just, don't despise humble beginnings. Keep it real. Social media is, I just find that it's an enemy of progress at times because, you're seeing this quick life, high, flashy way to make money and so on. But I think it's just, keeping it real with your children and, just keeping them grounded. I think for me, when I look back, I really appreciate the humble beginnings that I had because I feel like it was a good platform. But sometimes those hardships in life are what ground you. And I think if you can always remind the young people that, you know what, those hardships are what define you, are what stretch you. Because when I grew up, I remember the privileged ones who had the soft life, who didn't have to work as hard. When I look at where they are now, and I look at where those of us who had a tough upbringing, who had it tougher, that staying hungry helped us stay focused. So, kind of like that hunger you have is going to be the fuel that will drive you to achieve greater things. And the things that you get, all that glitters is not gold. I think it all depends. It's all now dependent on, community. I know one of the things that really grounded me was having community groups. So where young people can, whether it's, I'm thinking of groups like Girl Scouts or I know I was part of a group called Pathfinders at church. We would go and be with other people and learn crafts and learn skills, and that just kept us together where we knew that, okay, my focus is not on this gold that's glittering, but my focus is on developing skills that will that will be the catalyst in me getting there. Yeah, and again, I would always advise young people to stay away from. How do you tell young people to minimize your social media time? I am thankful that my kids have just gotten off Instagram, TikTok, because they were like, it's making us feel inadequate, making us feel depressed, making us feel like we're not achieving much. But I guess, just to be able to just stay humble and stay focused and know that those hardships are actually the fuel that will drive you to get there. Keep reminding and reinforcing that. It's easier said than done, but, clubs, community, having platforms where young people can get together, maybe on a Friday night, social events where people like yourself would have clubs, and those who are feeling disenfranchised can actually be feeling like, okay, I am something, and there's hope, and I can get there through hard work and focus. Yeah.
What would you say is the role of really communication in salvaging all this? Like communication amongst people is a very key aspect, because if I cannot be able to communicate to you that, you know what you're doing is really wrong, and I'm just seeing you wash away your life it doesn't matter. Most cases when we're talking to our friends, they see you as an enemy, as if you don't wish them well, as if you're jealousy of what they have and what they're doing. I keep on wondering, how best can you talk to a friend who you see is flashing away their life just because maybe they have the money, they have the resources, they have a nice job, and you really see them, they're going down, they're going to the steep, and for you going up, because you know where you're coming from, you've been into those hardships, and because you're the same level, almost same age bracket, but you see them, they're going. How do you advise them? How do you talk to them?
I think sometimes allowing people to speak and just helping them. Because sometimes you find that some behaviors are fueled by something, whether it's a pain or frustration or emptiness, and being that friend to be able to just be there and allow the person to say, okay, what is driving you? Where is the problem? Where is the lack? Where is the pain, perhaps? Where is the insecurity? Because sometimes the insecurities are making someone feel like I've got to be the one, the party person, the one funding everybody. Like, what is that insecurity, And, allowing one to have that space where they can be a safe place to unpack without sounding judgmental. Because I think oftentimes we come from a position of being judgmental. And with that vibe of, oh, I'm judgmental now, who wants to open up to you? And it's like, oh yeah, being judgmental equates to being jealous of me. But, being able to pull out the friend and say, hey, let's talk, what is driving this? What is the goal? And is this the catalyst to get you to that goal? Yeah, and I think being friends is your friend. It's not just a matter of just looking at somebody and just making assumptions and just reading them out the riot act and say, yeah, because of this and this you will fail. But doing life together. Yeah. And yeah.
Okay, because really we are having, Uganda is the most youthful country right now, so which means if we're having like different people being able not to communicate just because they have different challenges, and I can't come to a certain Ian, a certain Chris out there, and I want to tell them that, what, there's something wrong with me. Being able to create that safe space to talk to someone is something that we need to creating an environment where everyone is free to talk, and that's why we need to talk on Gather Now Network is here to create that space. In case you want to share something, in case you want to talk about something, this is the platform for you to come by and share what you feel like is at heart. Yeah, community.
Community. I think the church plays a huge role in community because, when you have a church setting that allows people of a certain age group or youths or teens or young adults to meet together regularly. I mean, when I grew up, that was a big thing. You constantly had meetups Friday evening, or you'd go camping with other young people. And even now, we lead Married South. Do you know that even as adults, there's issues of not communicating? But when you're sitting amongst a group of people and you start sharing, maybe the story, the lesson for that week is, we could say this week we're going to talk about sorry languages, for instance. So your sorry language is different from my sorry language. You can offend me and I'll say to you, Amon, I'm sorry. And it doesn't satisfy you. But if I say, Amon, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? Then now you feel like I'm being very sorry. Or you could say to me, Gail, I'm sorry, how can I make amends? So the way I receive the sorry is different, and the way men and women communicate is different. But the beauty of sitting as a group and discussing these things, we say, wait a minute, I'm normal after all. I'm not the only one dealing with this stuff. Because I think the more you keep quiet about things, the more you feel like, oh, I am this person who doesn't know how to communicate, or I'm this person who has these inadequacies, and you're dying on the inside. But being with people and that community enables you to see life happen and say, when the person says, oh, this is what happened and this is how we dealt with this challenge, even in marriage, you're like, oh, wow. So we're not the only ones who, now when we are angry, one is sleeping facing that way, one is sleeping facing that way, and for 1 week there's silent treatment, and women are sensitive about certain things, like, oh, now I'm learning, you see. And I often say to I have young adult children, I often say to them, sometimes in life, it's almost like you'll be going around in life thinking that you're the first person to have this problem. Let's say someone was a challenge in pornography, or a challenge in drugs, or maybe, you're taking the weed, or you've taken the weed, or you've done something terrible. As long as you keep it a secret, you keep it within you, you die inside. But the minute you can have an outlet or a platform of other humans doing life with you and saying, guys, I'm struggling with porn and I don't know how to stop. And then someone can say, actually, me too. And when the me too's come along, you say, okay, let's hold each other accountable. Or how did you overcome this issue? So that communication comes possible when you have safe spaces where people can feel that they can air what they're going through and know they're not the first person or the only one to go through that challenge, and then have guidance to say, actually, this is not you're not the first person to deal with this, and you are not an outcast. You can overcome. This is life. We're facing challenges in these areas, premarital feelings and all the passions that go with it. What do you do? How do you do it? And then, hey, let me tell you something. Right now with our society, even men feel challenged. I mean, my son is like, Mom, sometimes I'm going out there as a guy and I'm struggling because the girls are expecting me to be a counselor, a provider, a blesser, and I can't fill those roles. It's too much. And then they still challenge you like, oh, you're not man enough.
That's right.
You're not man enough. Oh, so you why aren't you getting it on with me? Why you don't find me attractive? So the guys are constantly under pressure. Then you find sometimes a lot of guys are giving in because they're seeing that's what the norm is, or social media saying a real guy will do this, or a real guy will do that. So we're the safe spaces in our community. And I think this is what the role that you're playing in terms of like, hey, this is life. You're not alone. You're not the first person. You can overcome.
Because, man, we have had a man being neglected, like a boy child. I know there are stories of boy child being neglected and stuff like that. But men have issues, really, like you said. And it takes really someone to come out and say, you know what, I'm going through something. It really takes, especially a man. So last time when I was at SCL, School of Community Leadership, you are a trainer of leaders, right? You have a duty, you have a responsibility to nurture today's leaders. What is the role of leaders in helping the nation, in helping people to find their purpose?
I think if leaders come from a place of I'm here to serve, and for whom much has been given, much is required, it helps everything come together. Because I think we have too many leaders who it's all about them, their achievements, their credentials, and I am going to pitch up late, and they're supposed to be the keynote speaker. Suddenly they've had to be called somewhere, and that's self-importance that's not serving. But I think if a leader is now taking on the purpose of I'm here to serve, I have certain credentials. I've been privileged enough to get these credentials, or these assets, or this privileged position, or whatever it is, and because I've been given that, much is required of me, and therefore I will pour back into the community that I'm blessed with, or that I'm privileged to serve in. How am I making a difference in my community? So these things that I have, whether it's the talents or the time or the resources, am I using them to build a castle and high walls around myself and put bulletproof cars around, or am I saying, I can't enjoy being in my castle if you are out in your shack? How can we level the playing ground so that at least, I'm making a difference in my community? Yeah, so every leader should go to bed at night with that ringing in their voice. For whom much has been given, much is required.
That's right. Yeah. How do you determine that I'm living a life of purpose? How do you tell that, I'm really living some good life that is purposeful?
I think when you all is said and done, I always believe in introspection. It's like looking behind in the rearview mirror. Introspection is so important because when you introspect and you say, where I am right now, am I making a difference to the people around me? When I go to bed, when I get up in the morning, am I feeling motivated? Is what I'm doing, giving me that sense of like, if I were to die tomorrow, I can at least say, this is the part that I played, this is the difference that I made. So I think that in a nutshell is how I see it.
Well, as we conclude, this is a very nice conversation that I don't feel like we should end it, but the producer is saying, you know what, guys, I see you enjoying the conversation, but time is not on our side. Yeah. So, what advice would you give to like a 15-year-old girl out there? Yeah. What advice would you really give them? And you're like, you know what, girl, you're 15. And this is my advice to you.
That's a deep question. I think at 15, I would have wanted someone to tell me that I'm worthy, that I also am somebody. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's one of the things. Because I think for me, I was so scared. I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of voices that had been drowning out my potential. So at 15, just to tell the young Gail that be patient in God's timing. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you.
What's next for you now?
So I think in the season that I'm in, it's just continuing to, I feel like I'm in a collaborative space. That's my new word. I'm enjoying collaborating because I feel like I have managed to achieve certain goals in life, and my way of mentoring and giving back is bringing in more people into my sphere of influence and saying, okay, so what do you have that we can package and share, whether it's the coffee industry or whatever it is, to say what do we have that we can package and share. And of course, oftentimes we think that it's all about giving, but we also have to think about how can it make it a win-win? How can I make what you're doing count for you so that you're not ending up at a loss, but ending up like sowing a seed or investing in the future so that it's not just about me, but it's just so that tomorrow I'm giving you a hand up, not a hand out, you see. So it's like, let's share. I look at you and I'm saying, okay, you have this great talent in this area, and I have resources, or I have a network that you could tap into. So let's come together and have a discussion around the table and put what we have together, and therefore we can make that multiply. I think as Africans, we tend to operate in a solar, from a place of insecurity, that, hey, you know what, I have this and I have this, so therefore if I can just insulate myself and make inroads on my own, then that's the way to go. Because I feel that if I let you in and you know my things, then you'll become bigger than me or better than me. But if I'm saying together, we can share ideas, we can work together, we can achieve so much more. And as long as Africans continue to operate in silos, we will not go anywhere. But when we start seeing that actually we really have something worth cherishing, something worth marketing, telling our own stories, not letting someone else tell our stories, then that way I think we can go much further.
Well, Gail, thank you so much for giving us your time. We've really had a very, very, very interesting conversation, and I'm sure everyone who has been watching this conversation or listening to it on different podcast platforms. Apple is everywhere you can get your podcast. Is very, very happy that you shared what you shared. I personally am so grateful that you made time for this, and we hope we can host you soon and talk more about coffee, because the conversation about coffee got so interesting over there. We shall I will ask my producer to get something specifically about coffee, and we bring you back here to talk coffee on the podcast.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate it.
So glad to have made it finally.
There has been Gail sharing with us about various things in life. She's talked about things that you need to know to live your purpose in life. You can stream this podcast on all podcast streaming platforms. Let it be Apple, Deezer, Spotify, or anywhere you can get your podcast. Remember, you also subscribe to Gather Now Network on YouTube. That's at Gather Now Network on YouTube. But you can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Gather Now Network. My name is Amon Mukisa, and bye. See you soon.